Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome then to the last of our revision sessions for this semester. If you're able to hear me, you can send us a quick wave and just a quick confirmation that you can hear us and that you can see on your screen the slides. So we are going to jump in. This session is being recorded as well. Okay, so as I said, good morning then. This is our last revision session for the semester, and this is now with the view to get you ready for our upcoming exam. So remember then, our upcoming exam covers all the learning units, so learning units 1 through to 7 in your textbook. Your team this morning is myself, Ina Frost, and with me I've got Salama Parker and Evidence Lesifo. And Salama and Evidence, as always, will be assisting you with any questions. So remember, you can use the chat function and please add in there any questions that you might like to ask us this morning. As I said, yes, our session is being recorded, and please check in with your lecturer how the links to the recordings will be shared with you after the session. Okay, so remember then, to be successful in this module, there's really two pillars that will underpin your success. On the one hand, it is your preparation. So it is about what you do now before the exam to get ready. And then on the other end, it is your exam techniques. So with other words, what do you do in the exam room when you are actually there and you've got your 3 hours? So our session today, I'm going to talk very much about how to prepare yourself for the exam and then also the tips and the tricks that you can use during the exam to make sure that you're going to be successful in our exam. So in terms of your preparation now, so these are now the things that you going to do over the next few days as you prepare yourself for the upcoming exam. So the first thing that you must do is you must find obviously a quiet spot and preferably with a desk or a table so that you are able to actually sit down like you would be in the exam venue. Then you're going to select a question from your textbook and you're actually going to write out the answer in full. At this point, don't use your laptop or your tablet. Actually sit down and physically write out pen on paper to practice and to get yourself ready and exam fit. Once you've written out the full answer, you're going to turn to the back of your textbook to that Annexure A, and you're going to mark your answer and you're going to identify maybe further areas for revision. Once you've identified those further revision areas, you're going to go on to ARC and you're going to look for any material that is available on ARC or maybe anything your lecturer has uploaded there to support you. Then you're going to try another similar question to make sure that you can now complete a question like that. And of course, if you are still stuck, then please reach out to your lecturer and ask them if they can just help you understand that particular area where you are still battling. And of course, lastly, if you are working with past papers, you are also going to make sure that you can work against the right speed. So you're going to actually set your timer and you're going to see, can I complete this question within the amount of time that I would have had in the exam to do a question like this. So these are your top 5 study tips and the things that you need to be doing now over the next while to get yourself ready for the exam. Then once we're in the actual exam, there are also certain things that you can do to improve your chances of doing well in the exam. And as we now work through some questions, I will go into more detail with each of these 5 exam tips. So then today we are going to have 3 sessions. The first of the 3 sessions, we are going to do a quick recap on learning unit number 3. And remember, learning unit 3 is the one about your depreciable assets. So that's what we are going to start with in our session. Everyone's still happy? Everyone's still doing well? Please send us a quick emoji just to say that you are still doing well this morning. Okay, then we're going to jump right in. Okay, so here then we've got a cell phone. And for our example purposes, we are going to pretend that this is an iPhone 14, which was bought in 2022. And at that time, we paid 20,000 rands for our cell phone. Now, our cell phone, we will refer to this as a non-current asset. And this non-current asset, if we look at it now in 2025, we find that, oh, hang on, now our iPhone 14 is only worth 13,000 rands. So clearly there has been some kind of a loss in value of our cell phone. And this loss in value, from an accounting perspective, we refer to that as depreciation. And depreciation is an expense account. It is an expense for the business. Then we have depreciation per year. And if we now add together all of the depreciation, we get something we refer to as accumulated depreciation. And accumulated depreciation is the sum of all the depreciation on that particular asset. So with other words, this total loss in value that we've had on our iPhone. The accounting entry that we are going to make every year to record this yearly loss in value, we're going to debit the depreciation account. So we're debiting the expense account, and we're crediting the accumulated depreciation account, which is our negative asset. And every year we are going to process this entry to record the current year depreciation. In Learning Unit 3, there is a variety of important terms that you have to make sure you know these terms, and whether we classify them as assets or as expenses, or even if it is a negative asset. So all our depreciable assets, like our vehicles, machinery, equipment, and furniture, those are all non-current assets. And so all of those accounts in the general ledger will have a debit balance. And those assets, remember, we refer to them as property, plant, and equipment. And we have a special note to the financial statements where we cover all of these assets. It's your note 3. And all of these assets will be part of your statement of financial position. Then our accumulated depreciation, there is one account per group of assets. And these we refer to as negative assets. These accounts will all have credit balances, and also ends up in your statement of financial position. Then in terms of our depreciation, let me just get my laser pointer here. So in terms of our depreciation, there's only one general ledger account, and this account is an expense account, and therefore has a debit balance and will form part of your statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. So in this learning unit, please make sure that you are familiar with all of the different terms and how we classify them and where they end up in the financial statements. Okay, so let's just have a look at a past paper question. So this question then comes from the 2023 exam. And this was the question we asked the students. So in terms of our exam tips now, remember exam tip number 1 talks about managing your time. And we still found in semester test 2 that quite a lot of students spend too much time on that question number 2, and then they ended up having to rush through question number 3 or even leaving out parts of question number 3. So please, in the exam, don't underestimate the importance of managing your time properly. That means you're going to look at the amount of marks that's been allocated to the question. So for this question, it's 15 marks. You're going to take that 15, you're going to multiply it by 1.2, and that will then tell you how many minutes you can spend on this question. And you have to be very strict with yourself. If you have spent the 18 minutes, then you must leave this question and move on to the next question. If at the end of your exam you find, oh, hang on, I've actually got some time left, then you can come back to this question. But initially, you cannot overspend time on the early questions. So you cannot take more than 18 minutes to complete this 15-mark question. Then our next exam tip is you must first read your required, and you have to make sure you read your required with a lot of care. Because remember again, we're only going to give you enough time to do what we are asking in the required. So if you start doing other things, it's going to eat into your time, and then you are not going to be able to finish the paper. And of course, we're only going to give you marks for what we are asking you to do. So in this one, then, we're specifically asking you to calculate accumulated depreciation. Okay, so remember again, in terms of our key terms, oops, let me just go back here. We're asking for this one here. We're asking accumulated depreciation. So the sum of the depreciation. So not for the current year depreciation, but for the accumulated depreciation. And then we are asking it at a specific date, which is the 1st of January 2022. And that brings us to the next very important exam tip number 3. And this is the one that says check your dates. And this is also very, very important, particularly in your learning units 3 and 4 questions. We can't overstress how important your dates are in a learning unit 3 and 4 question. And if we just look at this small question here for this question number 4, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different references to dates in this question. And in your learning units 3 and 4 questions, your dates are so important. We don't give you dates for no reason. If we give you a date in the question, then you must know this is going to be of importance in answering the question. So we can see they're asking for the accumulated depreciation for January 2022. And January 2022 was the start of the financial year. Okay, so that is the accumulated depreciation, then with other words, at the end of the previous year. An easy way to make sense for yourself of all these dates is to draw it out for yourself in a timeline. So in your timeline for learning units 3 and 4, you're going to show yourself when does the financial year start. So remember, we see it starts on the 1st of January 2022. When does the year end? It ends on the 31st of December. And always remember, a financial year is 12 consecutive months. So if it starts on the 1st of January, it means it has to end on the 31st of December. And then on your timeline, if you use all of these dates that we give you in the question, and you now draw them into your timeline, it makes it much easier for you to see for how many months did we own the asset before we sold it. Okay, we sold it at the end of September, so that means we still owned it for 9 months before we made the sale. And then initially, when we bought the asset in 2019, we had it for 6 months in the first financial year. So always make sure that you make this drawing. I call it your timeline. Your lecturer might have given it another name, but always make sure that you draw it out for yourself on your exam paper so that it's very easy for you to see when what happened in the question. Okay, how are we doing there, team? Are we all doing well?
Hi, Ina. Yes, we think we just have think from Vega. I think they have an issue with these students not being able to log in. Um, they
Okay.
have registered, but they're not being able to um log
Okay.
in. So I'm
Oh
not
my
too sure
goodness.
what could be the problem.
Yes, I'm also not 100% sure. Please just reassure those students that we are making a recording of the session. So even though they might not be able to join us live, then today they will be able to watch our recording later. Let
Okay.
me just see quickly. Maybe I can just
Let me
get. Oh yes, now I can't get the link now. I thought I could quickly access the link again, but it doesn't look like I can do it while the session is live. Um, but please, yeah, please just reassure them that they will be able to watch the recording.
link. Okay.
Okay.
Something about yes. Okay.
Okay, someone has also just given there a tip. I see they said you have to use your Vega email.
It
Yes,
works
because I
better.
think it is maybe linked to people with
Yes.
Advotech. Yes,
Yes.
with the Advotech email. Okay, thanks for that tips.
Thank you.
Okay, right. So the question then says we have to calculate accumulated depreciation. And of course, for us to be able to do that, the next key bit of information that we need to look for in the question is the depreciation method. And you can see in this question then they said we must use the diminishing balances method. And remember, another name for that is your reducing balances method, and the rate is 10%. So that is a very key piece of information then that you must look for in the question because we have to tell you the method and the rate that you have to use. Now, remember again, in first year accounting, there's two possible methods that we can test you on, the so-called straight line method. And in the straight line method, we use the cost price, the original cost price of the asset, and that cost price will be excluding VAT. So if you have to calculate current year depreciation using the straight line method, your starting point is the cost price of the asset. You're going to use your depreciation rate. You're going to check for how many months did we own the asset during this year, and that will give you your current year depreciation. But in this question, they said we need to use our diminishing balances method. So this method, the starting point is different. Now we're going to start with the carrying value of the asset. How do we calculate carrying value? Carrying value is the cost price minus the accumulated depreciation of the particular asset. Remember, another word for carrying value is also book value. Okay, so the diminishing balances method begins with the carrying value of the asset, where the straight line method begins with the cost price of the asset. The rest of the formula looks exactly the same. It is just where we begin the calculation that is the main difference in these two methods. So for this question then, we're using the diminishing balances method. Okay, so the question said we have to calculate the accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year. So with other words, they want us to calculate that question mark. They want us to tell them what is the value for that question mark. So this is now again where our dates are important. So originally we've bought this asset on the 30th of June 2019. So that's where I'm going to begin my calculation. And then my calculation is going to end on the 31st of December 2021, which is then the end of the year, and that is just before the 1st of January 2022, which is the start of the next financial year. So remember again, at the end of the one financial year is then the start for the next financial year. So don't get confused with your dates. So in the first year, we only had the equipment for 6 months. So in the first year, we need to multiply with the 6 over 12 to get to the depreciation. And in the first year, depreciation and accumulated depreciation is exactly the same value. In the second and the third years, we had the equipment for the full 12 months. And then for the second and the third years, we're going to work with the carrying values because remember, it's the diminishing balances method. And to get to the carrying value, I take the cost price each time of the asset and I subtract the accumulated depreciation to calculate the carrying value. So at the end then of December 2021 or 1 January 2022, the accumulated depreciation is then 4,610 rands. That brings us then to exam tip number 4. And remember, this is one of the most important exam tips. Well, they're all important, but this one is really, really important. And that is to show us your workings. Please, you can see to calculate that 4,610 rands, there was quite a bit of calculations that went into it. So please do not forget to show us your workings so that you can optimize your marks. Just to illustrate the importance of showing your workings, here we have two students, student A and student B. Both students has got the same final answer. With other words, both students made the same mistake. But because student A showed us no workings and gave us the wrong answer, student A gets 0 out of the possible 6 marks. Student B, and we call student B top student, showed us all of their workings. They made the same mistake. They miscounted the number of months. But because we can follow the rest of the calculation, student B gets 4 out of 6. And you can see that's quite a drastic difference, getting 0 from 0 marks or getting 4 out of this possible 6 marks. So please, we cannot overstress the importance of showing us your workings in detail so that you can optimize your marks. Team, how's it going out there? Anything you want to add in at this point with regards to the calculation of depreciation?
Hi, Ina, all good on our side. I've just got a question here. What do we do if we are given only the cost of a machine that was bought and only the total accumulated depreciation that was already given in the question?
Okay, And listen, you might have to give us a little bit more there. Is that now if they want you to calculate, for example, the depreciation, if the question is again asking for diminishing balances, then obviously you can use that cost that they given and that accumulated depreciation as part of your current year depreciation calculation. If they want you to calculate carrying value is always cost price minus accumulated depreciation. So if they already giving you the cost price and the accumulated depreciation, you would just need to subtract those two numbers to calculate your carrying value. You'll see it a little bit later as well when we do the note for property, plant, and equipment again. Then you'll be able to see that as well. Sorry, Evidence, I see you also just want to add in here.
Yes, I do. So I just wanted to add that as much as the accumulated depreciation might be given already in the question, the student must just make sure that it's up to the date that they want them to calculate the carrying value for. So, for example, if you have accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year and you are already at the end of the financial year, that means you would firstly have to calculate the depreciation for the year before you can actually calculate the carrying value.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much, Evidence. That's an excellent point, and we'll see it now in part 2 of this question where we have to work out the profit or the loss on the sale. And we're going to see exactly your point that you've just made in the next part of the calculation. So let's maybe just then jump straight into that. So the next thing in this question that they asked the student to do, we had to record the sale of the asset. And we can see the sale happened in the September of 2022. So the sale happened 9 months after we had calculated that opening accumulated depreciation. So when it comes to recording the sale of an asset, remember in an assessment, we can either ask you to do it in the general ledger. So with other words, create an asset disposal account, or we can ask you for the general journal entries to record the sale of the asset. But whether it is in the general ledger or in the general journal, we always have to apply our 4 steps when we record the sale of the asset. So let's just remind ourselves again quickly, what are those 4 steps? Step number 1 says you must take the initial cost of the asset, and that will be the cost excluding VAT. And you must remove it out of the asset account and move it into the asset disposal account. Then step 2 says take all the accumulated depreciation on this particular asset that we're selling. So from the very, very first day that we owned the asset until the day of the actual sale of the asset, take all of that and move it to the asset disposal account. Then we need to record the selling price. So what did we get when we sold the asset? And then lastly, we will be able to calculate if we made a profit or a loss on the sale of the asset. These 4 steps are in your 2025 textbook, and you can find them all there at the bottom of page 81. And Salama might want to just jump in here. She's always very good at giving tips to her students and making it a little bit easier with acronyms. So she is sharing this acronym with us. Salama, do you want to just talk to this one?
Yes, Ina. Okay, so if you could just remember TASP so that you can identify that the C means that you need to transfer the cost price of the asset first, okay, to asset disposal. A will be the accumulated depreciation, but all depending also, maybe we should look at when the asset was disposed. There are different. An asset can either be disposed at the beginning of the financial year, during, or at the end. So if it's at the beginning, then we'll only have 1 step for accumulated depreciation. But if it's during and at the end of the year, please then take note that we will have to have with step number 2 for the A, there will be 2 steps that we will have to follow. Then step number 3, S stands for not to forget to record the selling price. And then lastly, step number 4 can either be, I did tell, it can either be a P or an L, so profit or a loss. And how will we know whether we've made a profit or loss on sale of asset? Again, there's a little formula you will have to calculate. Once you first need to, of course, calculate your carrying value, which is your cost price minus your accumulated depreciation. Okay, I'll also just write it for you here in the um, chat. Okay, yeah, I'm very much for formulas. I'm sure my students will know. I'm always trying to let them remember that. So once you have your carrying value, right, they would have given you your selling price. Okay, so if your selling price, I always tell them, if your selling price is greater than your carrying value, you will make a profit. And when the selling price is less than the carrying value, you will make a loss on sale of asset. And always remember, a profit is an income to the business and a loss is an expense. And if I know students sometimes they're not able to remember that also. Just remember debt click. So if it's an income, you need to know you have to credit the profit on sale of asset. And if it's an expense, you have to debit loss on sale of asset. Okay, thanks, Ina.
Great, thanks, Salama. And students, as we now go through the actual entries, then you will again see some of the points. It will reinforce some of the points that Salama has just made around the accumulated depreciation and then that calculation of the profit or the loss. But remember the acronym CASP then, that will then remind you of your 4 steps so that you make sure you've got an entry for each of those 4 steps. So for today's purposes, I thought I'll just go through the
Okay. Sorry, Ina, they want me just to repeat about whether it's a profit or a loss. Okay,
students, if you can, sorry, Salama, and students, if you can hang on a second, we're going to come back. We're going to come to a slide in a few minutes where we'll look again at that profit and loss calculation with the numbers. So if you wouldn't mind just bearing with us for a moment, then Salama can talk you through it again, but then you'll have the actual numbers, which I think will make it a little bit easier for you then to also just follow the discussion. So I'm going to show you today the general journal entries, but remember we said you must be able to do both the general ledger and the general journal. So step number 1 then said we must take the cost of the asset and we remove it out of the actual asset account and we place it into the asset disposal account. So in this question then we only have this equipment of 20,000 rands, which we're going to sell. And so we move the full 20,000 rand to the asset disposal account. Of course, you just need to look at questions where we may own a lot of equipment and we might just be selling one piece of equipment. So just make sure you just double check what is the cost price of the item that we're actually selling in the particular question. Then step number 2 also ties in with one of the comments that Salama made earlier. And this is now the one where we're going to take out the accumulated depreciation and we're going to move that to the asset disposal account. And now we're looking for the accumulated depreciation from 30 June 2019 until 30 September 2022. So we're looking for all of that accumulated depreciation. And you'll remember in part 1 of the question, they asked us to calculate accumulated depreciation until the beginning of this last financial year. And that we made this calculation. So that was that first calculation that we made. But this number here is not yet all the accumulated depreciation on this particular asset, because the asset was sold on the 30th of September 2022. With other words, there is still an extra 9 months of depreciation that we still need to calculate for the current year. And because of that extra little bit of depreciation that we have to calculate, this step number 2 is actually going to have 2 entries. The first entry is going to be just for that last 9 months of depreciation. And then this second entry, this is actually the true entry for step number 2. And this is now where we're moving all of the depreciation over to the asset disposal account. So it's that opening accumulated depreciation plus then that current year portion. Now that we've moved over all the accumulated depreciation, we're going to do step number 3. And remember, step number 3 said record what you received when you sold the asset. And in this question, we got 9,000 Rand cash. And so step number 3, then we are recording that 9,000 Rand cash. And now we're ready to do step number 4. And this is now where Salama can jump back in. This is now where we're going to calculate that profit or loss. Salama, do you want to take over again?
Yes, Ina. Okay, so you're going to first calculate your carrying value. So it's cost price minus your accumulated depreciation equal to your carrying value.
Okay, so just to show you, so there's your cost price, that's the 20,000.
20,000, right.
And there's your accumulated depreciation. So those are the two numbers you're going to subtract to get your carrying value.
So it's 20,000 minus that. And then you have your selling price, the amount that was given to you. And again, if your selling price, thank you, Ina, if your selling price is greater than your carrying value, you will make a profit. And if your selling price is less than your carrying value, you will make a loss. Okay, and clearly we could see that we made a loss here. And then remember, I told you, just remember your debt click rules. A loss on sale of on asset is an expense to the business. And expenses, again, debt click, expenses are always debited. Okay. And if we made profit on sale of asset, it would have been an income, which means according to our debt click rule, we would have credited that account. Thanks, Ina.
Thank you. Okay, so we said then for these types of questions, when it comes to the disposal of the asset, you must be either able to do it as general journal entries, and you can also see I've structured my journal entries per step. And if I do it like this, I'm making sure that I'm not leaving out any entries, because if I leave out entries, then of course it's going to cost me marks in the end. So we can either ask you to do the general journal entries, or we can ask you to do it in the general ledger. And if we ask you to do it in the general ledger, you can still make use of our 4 steps, as well as Salama's acronym. So you can still use CASP, and you can use our 4 steps. So whether we're asking it as general journal entries or general ledger accounts, your 4 steps can be used equally effective in either way.
Okay, maybe something that I should just also, that is important to note here is that students need to look at, besides the required, also what is, the answer sheet, because sometimes, because they're not really looking at what they are required to do, that is when they do the wrong thing. Some of them will do a general ledger when it's a general journal, for example, or vice versa. So always just make sure that you understand, looking at the answer sheet, what is required from you. Okay. the
That
layout
is
of the answer sheet. Yes.
Yes, that's a really excellent point because I think we saw, for example, in this last semester test, in that question 3, remember
Yes.
they actually helped all of you along by giving you tables where you could already fill in your workings. And I think some students didn't look at that last page in the answer booklet and didn't see that they were already given a considerable amount of help in
Yes.
terms of the notes, and they just had to slot in the
In
numbers.
the numbers, yes.
Yes, thank you, Salama, for raising that. And Evidence, I think you'll agree with us on that one. So please do look at your answer booklet, as Salama has said. And actually, before you start the question, maybe just look at everything for that question that is given to you in the answer booklet. And also look, for example, where we've given you space for calculations that you can already see, okay, clearly they've given me space here to calculate depreciation, or they've told me this is dedicated a working space, so that when I have to make calculations, I've got the space to clearly set it out. So my lecturer can give me the marks because they can clearly see where did I go and calculate the relevant number.
Hi, and I think we've got a question from Marie. She says, please go back to the I'm not too sure which part. She wants to go back to the old slide. I think it was Marie, are you referring to the general journal? I think it's this one she's referring to.
Okay, I see someone also just said repeat the part about the last test. What we just said is in the last test in the answer booklet, they helped you along quite a bit with some of the layouts, particularly in that question 3. So just make sure you look in your answer booklet before you just jump in and start answering the question. Just see what is given to you in the answer booklet already that you can just build on. Or do you need to kind of say, prepare the note from scratch? Or did we maybe already help you along with some of the layouts?
And also especially for the workings, because most of our students never look at that section to complete the workings.
Yes, yes. Okay, then the last thing we just need to look at again and refresh on for Learning Unit 3 is, of course, your note for property, plant, and equipment. And that brings us to our next exam tip. Tip 5 is please make sure that you memorize your layouts, your formats, and all the correct terminologies that needs to be used. And that's important for learning units 3 and 4. So please remember to know all of your layouts and your wordings and the order in which things have to appear. So if we just take this same question and we just say, okay, so what if they also wanted me to do the note for property, plant, and equipment? How would I have done it with this information from this question? So remember, our note starts with calculating the carrying value at the beginning of the current year. So you can either say over here, beginning of the current year, or end of the previous year. Remember, those are exactly the same amounts. Where we end last year, we must start this year. And the carrying value, as we've said now a few times, is your cost price minus your accumulated depreciation. And you can see I'm showing that by placing my accumulated depreciation in brackets. That's why I'm showing the accumulated depreciation is the credit, the cost price is the debit, and if I subtract those two numbers, I get my carrying value at the beginning of the year. Now, these opening numbers are mostly given to you in the question. For example, if we take our current question, they gave us the 20,000 rands at the beginning. In this question, we did have to calculate the accumulated depreciation, but often these two numbers are given in the question. The only number you have to calculate is the carrying value by taking the cost price minus the accumulated depreciation, and that gives you the carrying value. Then, so we start with where were we at the beginning of the year? Then we go to the middle block, and in the middle block, we look at what happened during the year. And during the year, there's only three things that can happen. We can buy a new asset. So that's our first line there, additions at cost. That would be referring to your new asset that you've bought. In this question, that's just 0. Then we talk about the assets we've sold during the year. And that's your second line here, disposals at carrying value. And in this question now, we did sell our equipment. And remember again, carrying value will mean the cost price minus accumulated depreciation of the asset. And then the last thing in the block is the current year depreciation. And remember always this calculation consists normally out of 3 calculations. So we have to depreciate the new asset. We have to look, do we still need to depreciate this asset that was sold up until the date of the sale? And then we mustn't forget if we had certain assets for the full 12 months. This exercise now, because it's just a simple exercise, we only had the one asset that we sold. But in your textbook exercises, you will see there are many examples where we own lots of equipment and we sell the one item. And then we finish up our note by repeating this top part. So you can see this top 3 lines I repeat again here at the bottom. But this time around, it is at the end of the year. So what is now the situation at the end of the year? What is the cost price of the assets that I have at the end of the year? What is the accumulated depreciation at the end of the year? And what is the carrying value at the end of the year? Then just remind us again, always show us your workings. Make sure in these kind of a notes that you are using your brackets properly, because unfortunately in our last semester test, many students lost marks because they didn't put the depreciation in brackets. They didn't put the asset disposal in brackets. So please, in these notes, your brackets is really important. And then remember again to know your layout and your formatting for this particular note. Salama and Evidence, anything from your end at this time?
Okay. I think we just had some students that had some questions over there, but I see Evidence asked did reply there. What I could say here also with Learning Unit 3, we provided the students with lots of resources, especially the VC campus. So again, I know there was a little note that was clearly, we were instructed as lecturers to make copies for our students. So again, if they could just go through those notes, it gives them lovely steps with regard to the PPE calculations, how to get to those amounts, because I think many of the students, again, if you could just maybe go back to the PPE, they're not too sure where we actually got the information from for the movements. But again, all this information, and also I think what I just mentioned earlier, to what you have also mentioned, Ina, is that always record the given information first, like the cost price that in that amount was given to you at the beginning of the year. The accumulated depreciation is what you have calculated. And also just to remember that you just need to, logically think and reason here that if you bought this was the only asset that you had, and now you have sold it, that at the end of the current year you don't actually have that asset anymore, and that is why the balance is zero. Only time when there will be a balance at the end of the year is if you have more than only this existing asset. And that is where the old comes in. Okay, old means that you have not only have one vehicle, but now maybe two delivery trucks, and you've sold one. So which means you still have the old one left, because I think that was one of the questions the student asked. How will she know to calculate for old? Okay, so again, you just need to read very clearly what is given to you in the question plus the additional information. So in this example of this question specifically, this was the only asset that the business had at the beginning of the financial year in 2022, and then they sold the asset during the year. So that is why at the end of the year, the balance was zero. So again, please just remember that there are different scenarios and you must be able to answer them in that way. And again, if you are not given the format, again, in the test, you were very fortunate, as Ina mentioned, you were also given the layout. Okay, if they do give it to you again, wonderful. But if they don't give it, just remember CCA MAD CCA. Okay, that is something that I just also try to let my students remember. Okay, is if you can remember that, then you'll know you have to start with C, carrying value. C again, cost price. A, accumulated. And most importantly, again, is if you are not going to show the amount in brackets, then at least show the symbol that you are going to subtract. Then put a little minus sign, because we don't want to now penalize you, because if you are not showing that you actually have to subtract the accumulated depreciation. The disposal at carrying value must be in brackets, and the depreciation. So we are accepting pluses, minuses also. Okay, Ina, are we happy with that? Okay,
Thank
that
you.
if they don't show the brackets, that they at least show that minus sign to
Yes.
say yes, that they
Yes, no,
subtracting that
that is a
amount.
fine. Just as long as so you can use the minus here, just as just make sure that your lecturer can see clearly that you are going to be subtracting your those particular amounts. Okay, thanks, Salama. Okay, students, so as we said, we want to just reinforce your study tips. So what you will be doing now, from now until the actual paper. So remember, we said you're going to find your quiet spot. You're actually going to sit at a table or a desk like you would in the exam venue. You're going to now select Learning Unit 3 questions. You're going to write the answer out in full on a piece of paper with a pen, and then you're going to mark it and identify any shortcomings that you may still have in Learning Unit 3. And here just is a summary for you then of all the textbook questions that you can practice. So particularly here in the questions on the asset disposal, there's quite a few textbook questions, and there are questions where you have multiple pieces of say multiple equipment or multiple vehicles, and then you're selling one of them. So you can definitely go and look at these textbook questions. And of course, don't forget about the trade-ins as well that can take place when you are selling a vehicle. So there are lots. There's 12 questions, or actually there's even more. There's up to 15 textbook questions that you can then go and practice to make sure that you are up to date with Learning Unit 3. So if you've now practiced the question, you've done this study tip number 3, you've marked it against the answer, and you find you've got gaps in your understanding, remember then to turn to ARC and go and have a look what is already on ARC and what other resources your lecturer shared with you on ARC. Try another similar question to see if you now can understand that particular part that you had a problem with. And if you have more help, don't forget your lecturer is available to assist you if you need more help on a particular question. And then also remember, we did an extensive revision on Learning Unit 3 when we prepared you for Semester Test 2. So please go and rewatch. There was actually 3 videos that we made when we did our revision for Semester Test 2 on Learning Unit 3. So please just go and re-watch those videos. And if you're not sure where to find them, then please again just check in with your lecturer where these recordings are uploaded for you so that you can optimize these resources. So please, on ARC then, remember there's a folder per learning unit. If you click on the folder, it opens it up for you per theme, and then you can click on that theme for additional resources, and some of your lecturers may also have uploaded for you additional videos or notes into these folders. So please optimize the resources that's available to you on ARC. I just want to go back here. So now we'll just have a quick 5-minute leg stretch. So if you haven't signed the register, please do so. And my clock says it's now 5 minutes to 11. So we're going to have a quick 5-minute leg stretch. We'll rejoin each other at 11 o'clock sharp. And then, sorry, Evidence, I see before we wrap up this session, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry.
So do you
Sorry
want to
for
just
disturbing.
jump in quickly?
Yeah, I think me and Edison are struggling to, Anderson, are struggling to understand each other. So I just wanted to clarify for him before we move on from the topic. He's been asking, the initial question was, if I could find it, if you are given the accumulated depreciation for all machines, but you have to calculate for only one machine, do you use the accumulated depreciation for all machines? Okay, so Anderson, you need to understand that depending on which carrying value you are trying to calculate, then you need to focus on the accumulated depreciation for what you are trying to calculate. So if, for example, you're calculating the carrying value at the beginning or the carrying value at the end, then your focus would be on those assets that you still have, or the ones that you're starting the year with if it's the beginning, or the ones that you still have if it's the end. So you need to make sure that that accumulated depreciation that is there relates to those assets that are there in that moment. If it's the beginning, it's those assets that you're starting the year with. If it's the end, you focus on those assets that you are ending the year with, those that were not disposed. Then, if you are talking about the carrying value for a machine that is being disposed, then that means your focus is only on finding the accumulated depreciation of the machine that is being disposed. So this means if, for example, they did not give you the accumulated depreciation of that specific machine only, in most cases, and actually that's how it would be, there would be a date of when the machine or the asset that is being disposed was originally purchased. And since you have the original purchase date of your asset, that means you can work your way backwards, determine how many financial year ends did you have. For each financial year and calculate the depreciation up until the date of disposal, then that would be the accumulated depreciation on the date of disposal. It's something similar to what we did in the general journal there, if you remember what was done in the general journal. So if the date is not given, then you would be given the accumulated depreciation specifically of the asset that is being disposed. I'm not sure if I've answered your question or what, but I saw that we are kind of having a back and forth. That's not really clarifying your question, I think. Hopefully that answers you. Thank you, Anna.
Okay, and then just remember, if you want to do more revision on this topic, remember to go and look at questions 3.6 to 315. There's quite a few more questions just like this in the textbook that you can practice. And remember, at the back of your textbook in Annexure A is where you'll find the answers. to the questions. And actually in Learning Unit 3, there's also really well worked out examples. So besides the questions that's in the textbook, there's also excellent examples on this specific topic, Anderson. So I would highly recommend you go back and just look at that. And then you can also look at our past videos for test 2, just to get yourself ready for the upcoming exam. Okay, everyone, so we're into our 5-minute break. Okay, I see we now already, it's already nearly 11, but I'll give us a couple more minutes just to go and do the leg stretch, and then we'll start again. Thank you.